Hey everybody, I'm Joe Brahini. I'm here at the KOA in sunny St. Petersburg, Florida. Here today with fellow full-time traveler and entrepreneur Rob Ridgeway. Rob is the real deal. This guy is the creator of the hit board game Spontuneous. Cool stuff. Check out the link below. Order your copy today. How you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thanks for taking time with me today. Beautiful day. We're actually sitting, what'd you say, 40, maybe 50 yards from a nice water view out there.
It's beautiful, for sure.
Oh, it's great. All right, so how long you been full-time traveling?
I started full-time in June of this past year.
This past year?
Okay. So yeah, I got the RV in June and spent the first month and a half in Austin, Texas, where I have been for the last 6 years, and just had to wrap up some things there and wanted to kind of get used to the living in the RV before I headed out on the road. And everything.
Right. So what drove you? What was your inspiration to just pack up all of your shit, put it in an RV, and live on the road?
Well, I had been working on my game for, this would be the 8th year that I've had it going, and it hasn't been all fun and games, and no pun intended, right? No business ever is, but after spending a couple years pedicabing in Austin and really being tied down to my apartment, and my rent was going up, and I looked at maybe buying, because the game finally started taking off, and I thought, well, maybe I could buy this year, and I started talking to some people about how much they're paying in property tax, and for pretty modest houses, people were paying close to $9,000 a year in property tax, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna give the government my money,
right?
You hand it to them.
Yeah.
So I really started thinking about, what does it mean to live and live your life, and I think it's a lot more than just the actual house that you live in, and I think it's more to do with the experiences that you have, and I thought, why spend my money on having a big nice house and then having to work my butt off to keep it,
right,
and being tied down to it. And I really wanted that freedom and the ability to go live life and check out the entire country and see everything in the outdoors that there is to offer, all the national parks and the beaches on the West Coast and the East Coast. And I didn't want to commit to one single place yet. I mean, I know some places that I like, but I want to check out a lot of different things, see it all, and kind of live that minimalist lifestyle. We get so involved in having things, material things, that we have to work so hard to pay for them. Well, I'll tell you what, it was the most liberating feeling in the world when I did get this RV and I got rid of all my things. It was a hard thing to do, don't get me wrong, but once I did get rid of it, I can't tell you what I got rid of now. I honestly, I don't know what I got rid of. I don't miss it, and life is so much more simple that I don't have all that stuff, and I don't know, I like the simplicity of it, and being able to, the freedom.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because it's the things that you acquire throughout life that if you really, that's not what makes you happy, right? I mean, it's just the thing. What kind of joy are you getting out of, whatever it is you have. Well, that's awesome. Well, if that doesn't make you want to full-time travel, I don't know what would. All right, so here's kind of the $1 million question, and I think we kind of know, part of the answer to this, at least anyway. So what is it that you do or what are your primary sources of income? About 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I came up with the idea for this board game called Spontuneous, and it's basically word association with lyrics where someone says a word, and the first one to spontaneously burst into any tune that contains that word, right? Another pun. The first one to jump in and sing a song with that word in it would win that round. And, it had finally taken off here in the last few years, and
So I sell that on Amazon, and you can see the game behind me here is on the side of the RV. And so I wrapped the RV in all my branding, and now I can write off my life basically and advertise as I travel around and meet great people like you. And so I sell that on Amazon, and I can work from wherever I'm at. And you know, I was fortunate enough the last few years it started taking off, and I went from zero to hero. You know, you hear the overnight millionaire thing, right? Well, it's never overnight.
Right.
You know, the first 5 years I lost a lot of money, and then all of a sudden year 6 it was 19th best-selling board game on Amazon. Year 7 it hit number 2.
Wow.
And then this past Christmas season in 2017, I hit the number 1 best-selling board game spot. So number one. So that's what I do. I travel around, and I just I share the game with people, and I try to get people to unplug and sit down and interact with each other. And that's what my board game is. It's an old-fashioned board game that has no electronics. It's tabletop, and it brings people together. So
awesome.
That's what I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, so my wife and I, you know, before, and we've been full-time traveling now just less than 2 months. So there's a lot of research that went into that. You know, my wife really kind of carried the lion's share of doing that, but, you know, from reading blogs to watching videos much like this one and joining Facebook groups, you know, just to kind of, you know, find out what are the obstacles people were experiencing, and you know, what was the inspiration for going full-time traveling. What advice can you give to anybody watching this who is thinking about going full-time but just hasn't pulled the trigger yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, depends on what stage of life you're in too. I mean, if you're at retirement stage, I say go for it. You know, if you're still in that stage of making income, you know, it definitely makes it easier if you can work from home, and if you can, I say go for it. I mean, probably the basic things is just, you know, try to figure out some of the simple logistics of like, okay, where's my mail gonna go? How am I gonna get that? And you know, what do I have to have with me?
Right.
You know, do I have kids? Are they out of school? Are they in school? Personally, I would homeschool my kids all day long, so that wouldn't be a problem. I don't have kids, by the way, just a dog. But I don't think there's a whole lot to really think through. You know, my biggest thing was, you know, what am I going to get, and do I have a big enough truck to pull it?
Right, right.
That's the safety concerns are probably the biggest things, you know.
Right.
What can you do to make sure you're ready to pull something or drive something that big? You know, I grew up on a farm and ranch, so driving big equipment for me was, you know, second nature. Right. I'm used to that. Now it's been a while, so I had to dust the cobwebs off or whatever, but you know, making sure that I had a truck that was big enough to pull, you know, a 15,000 pound RV.
Right.
You know,
right.
That's, you know, the safety concerns there, and being able to brake. You know, I've got a truck that has exhaust brakes.
Right.
That's huge. You know, you don't want to be using your brakes all the time. And the exhaust brakes help out a ton. And so a lot of the newer stuff will have some of these cool safety features. And then, you know, making sure you've got good tires on your stuff is huge. Anything that moves when you're on the road traveling is something that could potentially cause a disaster.
Right.
And it could hurt you or somebody else on the road.
Don't skimp. Don't skimp on tires.
Yeah, I had my truck had, you know, the factory tires that were rated for 30,000 miles, and I think 17,000 miles into it, I looked at it and I was like, they're shot.
Not gonna work.
Yeah, so I went into Costco and got some 60,000 mile rated tires and put them on there. And yeah, it cost a little bit of money, but it's not worth it. I mean, if I were to blow a tire going down the road, that's a bad deal. It's going to cost a lot more. So, you know, I spent a little bit on tires, and you know, I get my brakes checked all the time, but that's, I mean, my advice is just don't be afraid, and just kind of take that leap. And if you try to think out every single thing that could possibly go wrong, if you're a negative Nancy, you're probably never going to do it.
Absolutely.
You got to think positive about, like, okay, what are the benefits of this?
Right.
You know, like, what are some of the cool places that we could go visit? What could be my backyard for a weekend or for a week or whatever it might be? And focus on that kind of thing. And then just be a problem solver and figure out the things that come up as you start your travels.
Right. Awesome. All right, well, I think that's that's all the questions I have for you for right now. I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Thank you, Rob, for taking time today to answer my questions.
Thanks,
and
Joe.
most importantly, thank you for just being a huge inspiration to myself and people like me.
Well, thanks.
Absolutely.
I'm glad I can be.
You absolutely are. So don't forget to check out the link at the bottom, Spontuneous, #1 rated game on Amazon. Man, that is an awesome feat. And until next time, we will be seeing you on the road.
Ciao.